We're from Boston. How are you doing?
Yo, how you doing?
The song is called Paradesi.
It's Saturday night in London at Hoxton's Underbelly Club, and there's a new band causing a stir. The Kominas, which means scumbag in Punjabi, are on their first international tour. Bringing their unique blend of what's been labelled Islamic punk to new audiences. Courting controversy is part of the package for these boys from Boston. This song is called Sharia law in the USA.
I am an Islamist. I am the Antichrist. Most grace and make most wanted list. But my, how I stay in time. God chased me out of my mother's womb. My friend was in sin. Before through the fence above my red toy foe. So I defy the devil heads to roll. Sharia law. In there. USA Sharia law.
Back in the US, and I'm on my way to Boston with the band's drummer, 26-year-old Imran Malik, for a recording session. Born in New Jersey to Pakistani immigrants, Imran moved to Islamabad to study medicine. It was there that he started playing music with his fellow US-born Kominas members. Their first band was called the Dead Butos.
We released one song that was quite political and really catchy, but nobody would play it because they were too afraid of the content of it. Since there wasn't a home for us in Pakistan, which that proved, we have to do this music here. And now that we're living here, it's like we do talk about Pakistan, we do think about Pakistan a lot, but we are like an American band.
Away from the constraints of conservative Pakistan, their music took off, and the Kominas were formed in 2005.
Imran, what's that song about?
The song's called Teri Aisi Ki Daisi, and it means kind of like go to hell in Punjabi, and it's talking about the cops, it's talking about mafia political groups in Pakistan, and it's talking about Maulanas, the clerics, the religious clerics in Pakistan. Just telling them all to go to hell, basically.
Other Kominas songs mock stereotypical perceptions of Muslims. This number is called Suicide Bomb the Gap, a reference to iconic American clothing chain Gap. Guitarist Shah Jahan Khan says it was written for a bit of a laugh.
Honestly, really the way that it was written was people, I think me, Bassem, and Mike were sitting around, and I think Mike was like, yo, I think it'd be really funny if there was a song called Suicide Bomb the Gap. And so the song actually came out around that.
The song's lyrics are just as provocative as its title.
Mary's only famous for being a virgin. Our Aisha was humping like Rastas are token. Just ignored hoes, whores. Maybe if boys weren't his hoes, then Muhammad would have kept Mary Magdalene moaning. So those are some of the lyrics. Suicide bomb the gap. Suicide bomb the gay yap.
Bassam Usmani is the Kominas' lead singer. He says many of the songs from their first album, Wild Nights at Guantanamo Bay, are about the frustrations of growing up a young Muslim in America.
And Wild Nights at Guantanamo Bay, like that Pakistani American thing, taking the piss out of it, like satirizing it, like laughing about it, like saying offensive things just to get over like some of like the things that disassociate you, you know what I mean, from like life in the States. Osama bin Laden, before he was like a household name, I got teased about him, you know what I mean? Like this is like 3 years before 9/11, you know? This is 3 years before the towers dropped. Like it was still like very, very, very racist, and people didn't really know. They're like, I got called a dirty Hindu for being like from Pakistan, like all sorts of stuff. And people were like, "You're from Pakistan and you don't know Arabic?" And I'm like, it's not an Arabic speaking country. Like they don't have a clue.
For some of the band members, punk music was also a way to rebel against their conservative Muslim upbringing.
Even dating was taboo for me growing up. My parents were like really strict about that stuff. So yeah, religion was like the source of like, it was like literally contradicting my hormones, and I was like, no, that's why it was, you know, it was just tough, like to reconcile those things.
Oh, this is awesome.
Fresh from their UK success, Imran and Shahjahan are catching up with their good friend, Michael Muhammad Knight.
Well, after you left, we drove to Bristol and then Manchester.
Knight has had a huge musical influence on the Kominas. The Muslim convert is credited with starting the Islamic punk rock movement in America after he self-published his book, The Taqwacore, about a fictional Muslim punk scene in Buffalo, New York.
I'm not a big fan of organized religion, but I like disorganized religion. And I wanted a disorganized Islam. I wanted a destabilized Islam. I wanted to walk into a mosque and have no imam telling me what a book said, what a prophet said. I pictured this punk house where you have all these different types of characters. Some drink, some don't, some pray, some don't. And there's no one in charge. So the person who decides your Islam when you walk into that house is you. Islam is completely in your hands.
Knight's book has now been turned into a feature film that premiered at this year's Sundance Festival.
You just felt like you could cross out the word of God?
You have this engineering student named Yusuf, who's kind of a middle-of-the-road, somewhat conservative, good kid. And he moves into this house thinking that, you know, these are just going to be regular Muslims that, you know, nothing different. And it turns out that, you know, one of them is this sloppy, classic 77 style drunk punk slob. And the other is, you know, straight edge, hardline conservative. The other is, you know, riot girl feminist who wears a full burqa, but will cross out a verse of the Quran if she doesn't like it. And then you have, you know, a guy smoking weed on the roof while he reads Quran.
Mike can't believe his self-published book has gone this far.
It's like I started out making copies at Kinko's, self-binding it with spiral binding, and just sending it out for free. You know, I gave it away in parking lots.
Allah is too big.
The Taqwacore's novel was read by many young Muslims across America who decided to turn Mike's imaginary Islamic punk world into a reality.
So this kid in Texas, this Iranian kid, he wrote to me and wanted to meet these characters. And I said, you know, there's no such thing, it's fiction. And he said, but I'm Taqwacore. And that was the first time that, like, my word, like, was thrown back at me, like it was a real thing, like it really, like there's such a thing as Taqwacore.
The Kominas were among the first to have read Mike's book and decide to form a Taqwacore punk band.
Basim gave me a copy of Taqwacores when we were both 19, and I liked it a lot because I never thought that, you know, anybody could speak about Islam in that way. I was kind of confused about a few things, and really kind of related to the main character. That was kind of what brought us together, and mainly like the important thing is that it like helped us like make music together.
Islam has always been something that people have been afraid to talk about, and afraid to be creative with. So that's why this book and the stuff that maybe we have done is like important, because of just like it's not something that anybody has decidedly talked about, just because it's scary too, almost like you're like, what if somebody's gonna come and blow me up? What about a fatwa?
Whilst in the UK, the Kominas were recorded live by the BBC, bringing the Taqwacore genre to a whole new audience. But lead singer Bassam Usmani is desperate for the band not to be pigeonholed.
Alright, I abhor the term Muslim punk, and I abhor it because I feel that it cuts people out. We're not trying to proselytize Islam. I mean, like when Sting throws in like a Christian reference or whatever, like, in a song by The Police, no one says like, that he's trying to proselytize. And I think it's like a little bit racist also.
Sorry about that. Hi, Imran. What's up? They're just sound checking now.
Tonight, the Kominas are playing an important gig in New York.
Imran's not here, though. We're basically playing with one of the most well-known Pakistani bands of all time, actually. Well, the singer Ali Azmat was in this band Junoon, which basically revolutionized Pakistani underground, Pakistani rock music. I sat in my room for like 4 years and learned every song he ever wrote.
Based in Lahore, Pakistan, singer Ali Azmat doesn't enjoy the luxuries the Kominas have here in the US.
Just lately, there's been lots of bombs going off, and so, you don't really get permissions for public gatherings. So, yeah, for the last 3-4 months, that's been the case. We haven't played a single gig. I hope it doesn't last too long, because otherwise we'll drive ourselves nuts, because, that's all we know how to do.
The first single of his new record is called Bom Pata, a commentary on the civil unrest in his country.
You are a product of your environment. You can't escape it. As much as we'd like to escape it and sing about babes on the 5th Avenue, I don't get to see them. It's a social reaction rather than, we're not revolutionaries. We're just reacting to what's, what society has become.
The Kominas are excited about what the future holds.
We came all the way from Boston. Boston, man! Boston! This song is called Manji De Vich Dong.
They have a new album to promote and are playing to bigger audiences than ever before. And while they won't ever deny their heritage or the experiences which got them to where they are today, the band is keen to branch out of the label of Islamic punk rock and let their music speak for itself.